KJ, morning.
Yep.
Thoughts on the Sir Jim Radcliffe 5 steps to life plan?
Let's be honest, people. It's not that bad. It's not actually that bad of the steps. If you had told me before Sir Jim came in, what are the changes that you want to see at Manchester United going forward? I guarantee you, most Man United fans will say those 5 things. 100%.
Yeah, give or take. Yeah,
give or take. That's those 5 things. What being said. So fans being upset with this, I'm just like, yo, guys, relax. Like it's not that deep. The only ones I question is the first 2. I think that's more of the I think that's more of the media embellishing and sensationalizing the policy than necessarily is that's it straight away, because that don't make no sense, because no club operates like that. Chelsea did it and realized that actually, no, we might need to change that model after doing it for 1 year. So I don't think they'll look at it and be like, yeah, as soon as you turn 26, like the day after, say the transfer window opens and I don't know, Mbappe turns 26 and he's available. You think United are going to be like, well, no, he's 26 now. Like, we can't sign Mbappe because he's now turned 26 the day after.
Let's look at Real Madrid. Like that. So everybody would say, most of Standard FC will hate this policy. But Standard FC also all hold Real Madrid in the highest regard. Would you agree?
Wait, what do you say? Sorry, I was reading the comment. I'm not gonna lie.
Sorry. So Standard FC will hate this policy, but Standard FC will also say Real Madrid, they're the pinnacle. Correct?
Yeah, 100%.
So you go back through their signings over the last 4 years. They've signed Rudiger and Alaba on free transfers. So older players, but on free transfers. All their other major signings, they signed a 17-year-old Enric, who's not there, but 17. Bellingham was 19. The younger Turkish lad, I forget his name now, 18, 19. Alagula, he was 18, 19. Tchouaméni was like 22, going 23. Camavinga was like 18 or 19. All of Real Madrid's major signings in the last 4 years that have cost them transfer fees have been 22 years old or younger. So, and I think Man United will do something very similar to Real Madrid. Will we try and sign Camavingas? Will we try and sign Tchouaménis? Will we try and sign these players? Yes. If there's some value in the market, for instance, I won't use John Stones as an example, but let's just say he's too old. Let's say in 3 years' time, Gabriel is going to leave Arsenal on a free transfer. And he's 26, he's 27, and he's up for coming to Man United. Would we sign someone like that on a free transfer? Of course we would. Does that make sense? And I think that's why I don't think this is a blanket rule. I think it's a general rule, which we're going to try and aim for players that are of high quality, but they've got age on their side. And the irony is, and this is why I've called out a lot of these Standard FC Man United fans, I don't know why they support our club, because this was Fergie's policy. So when did you actually fall in love with Man United if you hate everything we're trying to do now and everything we did in the past? I don't get how they like the club. It makes no sense. So I'm all up for this, mate, 100%.
Even if they're linked at, we've been linked to Tony, who's 28. We've been linked to Tosin Adarabioyo, who's 26. So it's not like, it's what I mean, like, people need to really, yes, look into the newspapers and see what they're saying, but you can't take everything they say for gospel, because you got to look at the actions of Manchester United. Like, we've got to remember, they're here to try and sell stories. So they're going to do what they need to do to sell those stories. So if that means, well, we've been told they're going to sign players, predominantly players who are 25 and under, but if they're signed 26-year-olds, they will do it. Let's just leave that last part out, because we know that people are going to hang on to the 25-year-old part. Like,
yeah, no, exactly. And I think that's, for me, what annoys me about the way these articles are put together is, if you've got the access to this information, ask those questions. And maybe they know the answers to those questions, but as you say, let's leave it out. Let's leave it out that it isn't a blanket rule for every transfer, because it will trigger. It's like the no Galacticos thing. What we need the article to tell us is what that definition of Galacticos means. Because if the definition applies to Angel Di Maria's, if it applies to Falcao's, if it applies to Casemiro's, if it applies to Alexis Sanchez's, then I don't want any of them. Do you know what I mean? If it applies to buying, a 24-year-old, the best striker in the world who's 24 years old, who's a diehard Man United fan, then I don't agree with it. Do you know? It's like you've got to give us what the definition of the person telling us that sees a Galactico as, so we can understand it, because we might see it differently. So therefore, it becomes a problem. So I'm all up for it. And what do you make of the structured rules around Wilcott's going to pick the style? The manager gets to say what positions he needs, but the club pick the players.
Oh, I'm here for that. I think we've been needing that for a very long time, because then we'll actually have true consistency in the way that we play, not just in how the first team plays, but the academy, how they play as well. Because we have seen a change in the academy in the last couple of years. They won the FA Youth Cup 2 years ago, with Kobe Manu and Garnacho. They've just done the treble in the under 18s, winning the league and whatever cup competitions they're playing. So we need that consistency to stay through. Now, if Wilcox comes in and says, okay, Ten Hag, we need you to play X, Y, and Z style, and you need to execute that. If you don't execute that, that's when you get sacked. Then that's how it should be. At the end of the day, like, we as a club have been for too long in the past. We have been for too long hoping that the next Fergie comes along. Oh, Jose will be the guy that we can have for 10, 20 years, and he'll win his trophies consistency. Oh, maybe Ollie can be the guy. He worked on the Sir Alex. Maybe he can be the guy. Even now, when we brought Ten Hag in, the idea with Ten Hag was, he's the guy who's going to take us forward for the long term. We need to stop thinking about this one singular manager kind of way of running a club and modernize and become a club that's like, right, here's how we believe football should be played to win. And if you're a manager and you cannot do play that style, and you cannot win us those trophies, then you need to leave. And I'm okay with that. So we've got this big question mark around Ten Hag. Should he stay? Should he go? Is he going to leave? Is he not? Who's going to replace him? I've already said, whatever Ineos and the footballing people at this club decide, I'm going to be there for. So if it's keeping Ten Hag, I'm here for it. Keep Ten Hag. He just needs to change the play style to what we want, what Wilcox wants, and then we start the players for him, because his signings have been questionable.
Yeah.
But if it's not, you're gone. And if it's not, we bring in the guy that could do that. So if it's De Zerbi, if it's Tuchel, it's whoever. The only one, and I'm pretty much like you, the only one I'd probably say absolutely no to is Southgate. But anyone besides that, I'd even say, hey, if Liam Rosenior, who got sacked by Hull City, turns out to be this guy who can play this magical football, then so be it.
No, I understand you on that. Just on the transfer policy again, I went and looked at Man City since 2000 and looked at all of their major signings. Only two of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 major signings since 2020. Only two of them were over the age of 25. Two of them were 25. The rest were all under 25. So this is what you have to do when you read these policies, is go look at some of the best teams in the world over the last 4, 5, 6 years and look at the age profile of most of their signings. It follows what Man United are doing. That changes your entire outlook on these quote unquote policies. Because if the successful teams are doing it, why are we acting like we're going to damage ourselves by following a similar model? It's crazy.
And Terry, name me a Galactico, a quote unquote Galactico in all of those signings. Name me one. What? Haaland? Maybe.
But again, he was still potential. If you go through it, Galactico, none. There wasn't a single player that City have signed in that time that you'd look at as a superstar when they were purchased. Obviously, Haaland's probably the closest to it but he was very young. But you could probably put Haaland into that category. But you're not putting a Kanji or Phillips or Grealish or Alvarez or Diaz or Ake or Torres into that category. You're not putting Guardiol. You're not putting Nunez. You're not putting Doku. None of those players you would look at and go, they were superstars. They just weren't.
Again, even someone like Bernardo Silva, he won the league with Monaco, obviously part of that amazing Monaco team, and then they got signed by City. He wasn't a Galactico. He was, again, someone hotly tipped to do something amazing, and he has. Like, he's an absolutely brilliant player. But everyone needs to realize that, look at world football, and where it's going. The Galactico signings are dying anyway. Like, those are going down naturally.
Even when they signed Mahrez, he was just turning 26. So most of their signings are in that mid-20 range and lower. It's just Man United fans have got to do a little bit more research and stop being led by all the negative Nellies from Standard FC who lie to you because they want that. They just lie. Like, there's nothing wrong with the policy as a general rule. I wouldn't like it to be a blanket rule because sometimes there is great value in that market. But you've got to look at why a player is leaving. And, you think about Bastian Schweinsteiger I love that we got him. I still love the way he supports Man United now. But we should never have signed him. We should never have invested in him. He was over the hill. And that's what we've got to avoid is signing such as that.